I'm Bonnie Kemke. Welcome to my studio and welcome to Quilting on a Thread. This is the 14th video on my Color My World journey. This pattern is by Wendy Williams. The link to buy the pattern is in the description of this video, as it has been in all the videos, and the link should appear shortly in a informational card at the top of one of the frames. Now, I may be biased, but this is the video you don't want to miss, because this video is going to tell you a lot of things to make this quilt work for you properly. The first thing I want to note is that in Miss Williams' instructions, Wendy does specifically note that you should sew these seams from the outside in. And that's a very critical point. Having done many circular quilts in my time, I can tell you that if you sew from the inside out, all of the rippling is going to be on the outside of this quilt, and that's where it's going to be impossible to deal with. If you sew your seams from the outside towards the center, and that's on every seam, not some, not every other, that's every seam, sew it from the outside in. And what that's going to help you with, and if we step over here, you can see it, there's a little bit of a rippling in here. You can handle a small amount of rippling on the inside. You will not be able to handle it on the outside. It's going to get really messy really fast because there's a lot of pieces of differing length and you're quilting on an angle. So the next thing I want to note is that, at least for me, is I have marked my coordinate points. So I've marked the center of the top, the center of the bottom, the center of the sides, and on my piece that will be inserted in here, I've done the same. But not only did I mark the quadrants, I marked the quarter points, and I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to be marking the 1/8 points. And the reason for doing that, I will do that also on the piece that inserts in here. Okay, so I've laid this up in here, and you probably cannot see it, but there's a yellow pin here and a yellow pin here. That's my starting point. And then on the first quadrant, yellow pin, all the way around for the 4 quadrants. And then for the 4 quarter points, there's a yellow pin in the middle of the skyscraper buildings, and there's a yellow pin there. Now, the quarter points are on the purple points of my Mariner Star. The quarter points are on the same seam as the red point on my Mariner Star, or Mariner's Compass, however you like to call it. I've always called it a Mariner Star, but Wendy calls it a Mariner's Compass. It's the same name, at least for me. The blue points will be my points on my Mariner Star will be the 1/8 points, and I will put an appropriate pin in the center of these 4 houses, and that's going to give me the points to match up when I'm pinning this. So another thing that Wendy Williams suggests, and in her instructions, and I strongly agree with her, is sew the sets of houses together first. Now I would add that as you are getting ready to sew these houses, take all of the tall building 1 left sides and trim them out to be the same size all the way around. Do the same thing with each of the other tall building elements. Have them all be pre-trimmed to the same size. When you piece these all together, go ahead and marry them up, set them side to side and make sure they're the same size. So trim these pieces out to be the same size. You'll save yourself a lot of trouble if you keep everything paired up and trimmed out to the same sizes. Then as you piece these together, what I did is I pieced these two pieces together, you know, to this city building, and I did that on all the sides, and then I began working with my skyscrapers. Now, one of the things you're going to find as you're piecing these together is you're going to have to decide every seam which way to iron it, whether you want to iron it open or whether you want to iron it to one side or the other to reduce bulk. Because if you don't, there's a lot of moving parts in these pieces, if you will, and you can get a lot of bulk built up very fast. The last thing I want to note is you need to be prepared to do a lot of trim out on this piece when it's fully assembled. You want to make sure these lines are perfectly straight because you're going to be adding the borders. The next time you see me is going to be the big reveal, because the borders are borders. Doesn't really need to be much discussion on the borders. And personally, I like multiple borders. So don't be surprised if you come back and find out that I've added a pinstripe or added 2 or 3 borders to this. I hope this has been helpful to you. These tips today are probably the most important tips I've given on this quilt. And so I hope it's helping you on your journey, and I really hope to see you again here on Quilting on a Thread.